Oh, what is up, everybody? What is up? You guys are checking out another episode of your AEW Dynamite live recap following AEW Dynamite here on Wednesday nights. It is Wednesday, June 10th. Happy NBA Finals Game 4. I know that the game's not going so well over there right now. The Spurs are having a phenomenal three-point shooting game, as well as being accompanied by the refs a little bit. You know, some of the calls are questionable. This show tonight was questionable. We're going to get into that. The other half of my Dynamite Bro, Hoss Knucklebrew, should be joining me here in about a half hour. And we're going to talk a little bit about Dynamite. So, in case you're watching the NBA Finals, you know, you guys can get to that. But if you guys are checking me out here on a Wednesday night after AEW Dynamite on the Sports Jedi Network, I appreciate you so much. I am your host, PGH Chris TV, and we are, of course, sponsored by G Fuel Energy. Make sure you use your promo code, my promo code, PGH Chris, to save 20% off on your order on G Fuel Energy. Get yourself fueled up and energetic for your streaming, gaming, and all those, whatever you do, right? And if you want some coffee in the morning, because I know the G Fuel doesn't hit for everybody right away, make sure you go to blackoutcoffee.com/Rumble. Use your promo code SportsJedi20, code Rumble for 20% off, as well as Dude Wipes. You guys know we are affiliated and sponsored by Dude Wipes and the Sports Jedi Network. Always wiping out the competition. Text Dude, save 20 to 59463. We'll send you a code off your order, and we will hear from Dude Wipes later on in the program. I want to salute to Daniel Perry Sports Highlights. Thank you for always joining us here on a Wednesday night immediately following Dynamite. Guys, I'm going to get right into it right here. I'm not going to go into too much of it right now. I thought most of this stuff was boring, and I'm going to start with this because they were live tonight in Cincinnati for their Summer Blockbuster. You guys see the title of this video, of this show, of this stream. Did AEW deliver a Summer Blockbuster? The answer is no. I personally think they delivered me a Summer Snooze Fest. I mean, it doesn't help that they're doing this on the same day as Game 4 of the NBA Finals. You know, they're not doing anything for me to be interested in watching this show. And I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to ask you guys for the millionth time, what is there to look forward to on these shows? I'm going to be honest. When I tune in to AEW Dynamite on Wednesday nights, what am I looking forward to? What the fuck is there for me to watch? There's nothing going on in AEW right now following not just what people are saying is the best pay-per-view of the year so far, but some people are going to even say that this year's Double or Nothing was one of the best, if not the best, AEW pay-per-view that they've ever done. And they can't do anything to follow up that pay-per-view. You have the title back on MJF. You have Kevin Knight maybe going to be a legitimate heel. And you have some contenders for the AEW title, and the weekly shows continue to feel flat. The show feels flat. There's nothing going on this show. I will give them credit. They started off the last 2 weeks doing promos. And I feel like Tony Khan, this is my conspiracy theory, because when I watched AEW Dynamites the last 2 Wednesdays, they've been on NBA Finals games. So I've been watching AEW on the other window, and I've been watching the finals on the other window. YouTube TV, you can multicast your whatever you want to watch. And every time, you know, I can't stand the AEW commentary. I'm going to say this again. I know Busted Open, Dave LaGreca, and Tommy Dreamer last Wednesday were doing their top commentators Yeah, I would have gone in there and say the worst commentators are Excalibur, Taz, and Tony Schiavone as a group in 2026. I can't listen to AEW's commentary team. I rather listen to Richard Jefferson and Tim Ledger and whoever I forget the third dude's name, and they're not great either. So nobody cares about this summer blockbuster. Nobody cared. I think more people are preoccupied watching the NBA finals, and I don't blame them because the NBA finals are actually interesting. There's more storyline in all these fucking sports than there is in any of these wrestling shows in 2000 here in June of 2026. That is a fact. They opened up with one of the most boring segments I've seen in a long time. You had Shane Taylor, who barely fucking wrestles. He wrestles on buy-ins during pay-per-views. Start up your opening show. And then the rest of the show is just filled with meh. This is not a show that people are going to be watching over a big game like the NBA Finals. And maybe I'm looking into that a little bit too much, which, I know the sickos aren't going to watch basketball, but my point is they're not doing anything interesting in the last 4 weeks on this show. What, Mercedes comes back last week? That's the only thing. Chat, I don't know what else I can say on these opening monologues anymore that just don't sound like a broken record. We're going to get Zack Sabre Jr. They announced Zack Sabre Jr. and Kenny Omega for the first time ever in AEW at the Forbidden Door. That's as much as the Forbidden Door as we're going to get. Why? They're talking about Mark Briscoe being the main event for that show, and we're going to get into that. There's 3 topics for tonight's show that I especially want to get into with Hoss. Again, it's Wednesday. The finals are on. Kev is doing a great job covering the finals right now. Go watch them right now if you want to watch some finals coverage. MJF and Mark Briscoe, the opening segment, and Swerve versus Ospreay officially, being official for Forbidden Door, which we knew was going to happen. We knew that Ospreay and Swerve was going to be the match at Forbidden Door. It just happened to be announced because Swerve beats Brody King in the Owen. So we will talk about that. We will talk about everything else here on the Sports Jedi Network on a Wednesday night, immediately following AEW Dynamite. Guys, we're going to start off with the opening segment, as I like to call it. We're going to talk about Summer Blockbuster. They started off with Tommaso Ciampa and Tony Schiavone. They were in the ring, and Tony Schiavone says, "Okay, we're going to bring out Tommaso Ciampa." Tommaso Ciampa comes out. He basically tells everybody that he wants Tony Schiavone to tell him that he's better than Chris Jericho. Yes, little old Tommaso Ciampa is better than one of the greatest wrestlers, I think, and I've said this on the show numerous of times, where Chris Jericho, in my opinion, is top 10 of all time, at least in my generation. And I know a lot of the 90s kids too. There's no way Chris Jericho's not on your top 10 if you are a fucking 90s kid. I refuse to believe that. So Tommaso Ciampa, he wants Tony Schiavone and everybody else to tell him that he's better than Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho comes out, which they started singing his song a little bit, but it felt very quiet. I don't know if it was just me, but felt like nobody was okay. Jericho's out here. Ciampa's begging them to cut the music off, and the crowd sings the rest of Judas. Jericho is acting like they just met when he was in the ring. He kept calling Tommaso Ciampa Tommy, and the crowd starts chanting Tommy. They start chanting Bald. Eventually, Chris Jericho, keeps calling him Tommy. Tommaso Ciampa gets pissed. Jericho said he's mad. Tommaso Ciampa hates him because he's not him. He debuts in AEW. Chris Jericho makes his comeback. So Jericho says Tommaso Ciampa felt like he was going to just come and rule shit. But now that Jericho's back, there's some real, there's some animosity that Tommaso Ciampa feels towards Chris Jericho. And then they initially start brawling inside the ring. Okay. So I don't know how much of an upgrade this is from Chris Jericho and Ricochet. I think Tommaso Ciampa clearly just from his look alone is a better contender for Jericho than Ricochet. I think Ricochet has the advantage that people think he's a real life asshole. So I know Tommaso Ciampa, he's a good heel, but he doesn't have that real heat. And I think they tried to do that. I think that's why they did Ricochet and Chris Jericho initially at Dynasty. And, the Anarchy or the Stadium Stampede stuff at Double or Nothing was, I think, with Ricochet's heat, I think maybe Tony Khan or whoever's running creative, which we know it's him, maybe felt like, okay, we can get Ricochet or Chris Jericho over. Why not put him with one of the most quote unquote hated guys, maybe in all of pro wrestling at that time. So I like this a little bit better. I think the match is going to be better, but again, Tommaso Ciampa is going to be nothing more than a former TNT champion in this company. I don't see Tommaso Ciampa beating an MJF. I think his championship match with Darby Allin is going to be one of the few times that we actually see Tommaso Ciampa compete for a world title. And I say that because when MJF is talking to Mark Briscoe about, can he market himself? I'm more marketable than you, this and that. And Chris Jericho even said this to Tommaso Ciampa when he was calling him Tommy. Oh no, Tommy's more marketable. Is Tommaso Ciampa really a marketable world champion for this company? I don't think so. I personally don't think so. You're not gonna have this guy do PR like even Darby was doing a little bit. MJF's kind of the main guy doing it right now. I know Kyle Fletcher has done some stuff when they went to Australia for Grand Slam. He probably will do some more alongside maybe a Harley Cameron. We got Mercedes back for the women's division. Those are people that are going to represent the AEW world title. I hope that people follow in MJF's footsteps. And when I mean people, I mean Tony Khan, where they're putting these world championships on people that are actually fucking worth something in this business. Let's stop with the everybody gets world title shots. How about that? And I don't see Tommaso Ciampa being there. So I don't know what's eventually going to come out of this feud between Tommaso Ciampa and Chris Jericho, but I will say I wouldn't be surprised if Jericho maybe is in the hunt for an AEW title down the road. I don't know if it's going to be against Will Ospreay, because I know a lot of people are talking about the Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega at All In triple threat. Is Omega gonna challenge MJF again at Redemption, the new pay-per-view they're doing right before All In, I believe? What if Chris Jericho's the one to challenge MJF at Redemption? I'm not saying he's gonna win, but what if this is Jericho's way of getting back into the main event scene? Big, and I think it'd be a fine main event. I don't want to see MJF and Kenny Omega again, because Kenny Omega is most likely going to win the title. I think it's bad for business going into your biggest show of the year, which is downgraded every single year if you've done the show in Wembley. You have MJF versus Chris Jericho. That's what I think the redemption match is going to be. And I might be nuts. But I'm just going to throw that out there before anybody else does. Instead of MJF fighting old Mick Foley, if he wants to fight some old legend that's washed up, but he wants to have a good match with, he should be fighting Chris Jericho, not Mick Foley. If you want to see Mick Foley have a wrestling match in AEW in 2026, get the fuck out. You are a sicko. Shame on you. You do not care about a human's well-being for your fucking bullshit entertainment. You want to see old Mick Foley, who can barely walk, take numerous bumps against MJF for a nostalgia moment so you could feel like you're fucking 13 years old again. You're a sicko. Shame on you for not thinking about reality. You're putting your entertainment before a human being's health. See, this is what you sickos need to understand about these fucking professional wrestlers. And when I mean sickos, yes, I'm talking to the AEW dumbasses, but I'm really talking to the sicko wrestling fans. These people are real people. We might see them as characters on TV, but they're real people. Anyway, I'm not going to get into a rant about that because, it is what it is there. But we'll see what happens with Chris Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa. Maybe that's the match going into, maybe they extend that match into Redemption. But I think they're going to have that match at the Forbidden Door. But I would like to have that match on Dynamite because we don't need extra matches being added to pay-per-views. So we'll see what happens. But they did their first match of the night. It was for the Continental Classic Championship. It was Jon Moxley versus Shane Taylor from Shane Taylor Promotions. It was a fine match. Again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, so bear with me. Fine match, but what's going to happen with Shane Taylor or any Moxley or anything that's important going into Forbidden Door or really anything? I don't see why we're getting random Moxley Continental Classic Championship matches. That's all that title is. That's AEW's version of the 24/7 title. Now, except with it being hot potatoed, but it feels like anybody anywhere can just show up and fucking challenge for it. Fine match. I thought when Moxley hit the suicide dive, Moxley hit a suicide dive during the match, and I thought it was funny the way Shane Taylor, like the way he sold it and the way he fell, I thought was hilarious. Um, Again, nothing special. They did some outside stuff near the table. Shane Taylor drove Moxley into the table, eventually gets into the ring. They start brawling a little bit, and Moxley ends up putting Shane Taylor into a submission hold. Shane Taylor taps, and Moxley's your winner. Your typical Jon Moxley match. Again, nothing's going to happen with Jon Moxley, Shane Taylor, or anything else. They're not going to further this match like they were doing with Moxley and Kyle O'Reilly. They're not going to make a big deal out of Shane Taylor Promotions or Shane Taylor himself. He's just a fucking Ring of Honor jobber who's going to always be Costco guys on pay-per-view buy-ins. That's unfortunate because I didn't think he looked that bad in this match. I really didn't. I thought he actually looked pretty decent for his size, his style. I thought he held himself well, and it was fine to see him on Dynamite. So we'll move on. We heard from Kevin Knight. He comes out there with Don Callis, says that we should all be mad at Darby Allin. He let us down. He didn't get the job done when he was, he lost that AEW title at Double or Nothing, and I know Kevin Knight is still kind of on that. See, this is where Kevin Knight, I don't understand the direction of Kevin Knight, and I'll tell you why. Multiple reasons. One, you had Kevin Knight, you had Kevin Knight first turn heel on Darby. What he did to Darby at Double or Nothing in the at the end of the main event, right? Kevin Knight's already your TNT champion. So to me, I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna run this shit with Darby Allin. And then eventually they'll get to Speedball Mike Bailey. Yeah, see, they did the Speedball Mike Bailey thing already, and now it's on to Darby Allin and on to MJF for the world title. Mind you, this is going to be Kevin Knight's third fucking world title shot. He lost to MJF on Dynamite. He lost to Darby Allin on Collision, but it was really 3 hours on Dynamite on a Wednesday night. Maybe a defense or two before Darby Allin dropped it. And we're really having this guy compete for teasing to compete for this title again. When Andrade has deserved a world title, technically I use the word earned, but we're talking kayfabe. I know he lost to Hangman, but if we're looking at Andrade and Kevin Knight in the last few months, what tells me that Kevin Knight should have an advantage over Andrade? What, because Andrade had his little back and forth shit, because management didn't get a fucking right, heads up that he wasn't cleared or whatever to appear on programming after he got done being with the WWE. I wonder if that slowed Andrade's push a little bit. I feel like he was potentially going to be in the mix for the AEW World Championship, but eventually he was, because he had the match with Hangman at Grand Slam. But anyway, so you had Kevin Knight come out here and talk about Darby. Oh, then I'm like, okay, I know I'm all over the place, but bear with me. So we had the match with Mike Bailey, which pisses me off because I'm thinking, okay, he's gonna do something with Kevin Knight or against Darby Allin. Maybe Mike Bailey would come out like he did in the Philadelphia show and try to talk some sense into Kevin Knight. We were gonna get Kevin Knight and Darby for the TNT title, and then boom, Kevin Knight was gonna win. We were gonna get Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey in a feud going into the Forbidden Door, going into Redemption, where Mike Speedball Bailey wins the TNT title, and then they do a part 3 either on Dynamite after the week after or the next pay-per-view. But no, this company does not give a fuck about the build-up. See, this is my problem with wrestling companies. And I hate to throw other companies under the bus. TNA can't capitalize on a fucking moment. AEW rushes and can't have patience and doing their moments. It's just, this shit's all fucking backwards. These wrestling companies have this shit backwards. We're going to get into that and much more after a break from Dude Wipes. I told you guys we'll be hearing from Dude Wipes. And then we're going to get to the man, my guy, who I told you would be here later on in the show. My co-host, Haas Knuckle Brew. We will hear from Dude Wipes, and we'll be right back in 45 seconds.
All right, quick break. Don't go anywhere. This segment is sponsored by Dude Wipes. Whether you're grinding through work, hitting the gym, or locked in for a full night of wrestling, Dude Wipes help you stay fresh. Simple as that. Portable, convenient, and designed for real life. And of course, this show is powered by the Sports Jedi Network. Independent wrestling coverage, real discussion, and a community that actually knows the product. If you rock with what we do here, support the sponsors that support the channel. Now, let's get back to the breakdown. Take it away, PGH Chris and Sports Jedi Kev.
You're watching Jedi Sports Network with Kev.
Shout out to our girl, Jody Threat. Shout out to Dude Wipes. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you guys my co-host, Haas Knuckle Brew, will be in the building. He is here. I'm not too far ahead. first off, Haas, happy Wednesday. Happy NBA Finals Game 4. How are you tonight, brother?
I'm doing well, brother. How are we doing? How was Dynamite for you?
It definitely wasn't a summer blockbuster, I'll tell you that. It was more of a I don't know if it's because I'm more interested in the finals right now, but you know how what I do with my YouTube TV, I multi-watch, but this definitely was no summer blockbuster. I mean, we'll talk about this idiot coming out here later on, but Haas, I talked a little bit about Tommaso Ciampa and Jericho. I didn't think that. I don't know if you saw their opening segment. Their opening segment was very boring. It was just Tommaso Ciampa basically saying, "Okay, I'm better than Jericho. I want Tony Schiavone to tell me I'm better than Jericho." Blah blah blah. I have a feeling that Jericho's going to end up challenging for a world title soon. So I think they're feeding him, the Ricochets, the Ciampas, to try to build him up a little bit for something. I don't know if you saw that opening promo. I'm not that big into it. If you did, what did you think about it? And what do you see the direction of Chris Jericho in the next, let's say, we are halfway through the year. So around like Christmas time going into the new year.
Jericho's direction, I'm right with you. I believe he's going to challenge for the world title probably after All In. They're building him up pretty strong. It really depends on who's going to be the champion. I mean, I can't recall. Has Ospreay went against Jericho recently in the last 2 or 3
Wembley
years?
Stadium, the very first Wembley Stadium.
Okay, so that was
Ospreay
3 years ago.
Yep,
What, 3 years ago?
Yep, Ospreay versus Jericho. Sammy Guevara came down with Jericho. They had the live Judas. Yes, it was a very good match. But this
Okay.
Will Ospreay wasn't even signed with AEW. It was like a New Japan. They still had their collaboration. So yes, the last time they had this match was at the very first Wembley Stadium. It was Jericho and Ospreay.
Okay, well that makes this even better. I believe this might be Ospreay's second challenge. I believe Mox is going to be Ospreay's first challenge coming out All In.
Yeah.
Then after he beats Mox, we might get Jericho after that. So
Yeah.
and this is trying to get the crowd to be more endearing to Jericho right now, which they seem like they are because they sing their hearts out every time he comes out.
They did.
So I can see that
something
being
that feels slow. I feel like they're like, okay, and then Jericho, yeah, they cheer, and then once they realize Judas is coming on, I feel like it's always a slow thing with him. But I said something kind of crazy before you joined. I was like, yo, what if Tony Khan, he because before you joined my rant, this was my rant.
Okay.
Right. This ties into what my rant was. I was talking about the Kevin Knight situation, but this is another example.
Okay.
I look at TNA and I see they know how to make moments, but they don't know how to capitalize.
Mm-hmm.
This company knows how to make moments, but they don't. They rush them. TNA is not afraid to rush these moments. They just don't know how to make the moment. AEW knows how to make the moment, but they don't have the patience. It's so fucking opposite. That's when you came in. I'm saying they got these wrestling companies flip-flopped. So since they have that, for some reason in my wild dreams, I'm thinking I would like to see Jericho and MJF. And I do not want to see Kenny Omega versus fucking MJF at Redemption. And I feel like Tony Khan would be the guy to throw in Jericho versus MJF at Redemption, since it's going to be in Jericho's native city.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I like your idea better. I'm going to be honest, because that gives Jericho a little more time to maybe get a little over with the fans, maybe have some better matches under his belt. I think he needs one good feud. One good feud that gets him in with another person, and I think Jericho. I think he could be a serious contender, like you mentioned, going against Ospreay, maybe his second defense after All In, after Moxley. So I like that. Did you check out Moxley versus Shane Taylor?
I saw I saw bits and pieces of it. The match was actually fine to me.
Yes.
I mean, Shane Taylor tapping out at the end. I mean, it's okay. It's fine. The brawl after, so it's going to be the Death Riders versus STP. I don't know where that's going to go. It just seems very extra to me. It may be Mox doing a lifeline to Shane Taylor so they can get called up to AEW possibly. That might be what it is. But that's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. It wasn't a bad match. I thought Shane Taylor looked good for, guy his size. He's not on Dynamite that much. It was cool to see him there. It was fine. It was actually cool to see him doing anything else but going against fucking Big Boom AJ. That's all he does. Is go against Big Boom AJ.
I'm gonna tell you this, Chris. Tony Khan is beating the allegations. He's got big men on AEW quite often now. He's been hearing the whispers. He's been hearing it.
Brian Cage, Brody King, fucking
Mark Davis,
guy, Mark Davis, Samoa Joe.
Yeah. All we need is more Bobby Lashley. We'll be cooking with fish grease.
Literally. No, I agree. And the reason why I like it in this company, they need more of the big mans is I like when the reason why I thought Ospreay and Samoa Joe, it might not have been the best match of the night. The best match of the night at Double or Nothing was, in my opinion, to Okada and Takeshita. That was the best match. But when you look at somebody of a style of Will Ospreay and the moves he likes to do, Samoa Joe's not doing that. He's not in his X Division 2006 TNA days anymore. He's changed his style a lot, especially his kind of early run in WWE. He really changed in that submission badass. Their styles kind of mix like that. I think Ospreay works better.
Yes,
maybe I'm being biased because I'm a big Ospreay fan, but he's not gonna have somebody like a Ricochet that's gonna want to match everything he does, and it's not gonna look like a gymnastic fest. That's why I think big men in AEW are important, because they don't contribute to that shit, and it actually looks somewhat legit.
You're correct. Think about it. This is the Sports Jedi Nation. It brings balance to the force.
Yes.
And it looks better. I'm like, every now and again you can get these flippy flip guys that put on those type of shows. But if you got Ospreay versus Samoa Joe, very good match because different styles. Ricochet versus a Mark Davis, different styles. It works.
Yes.
It's like the old saying, styles make fights. It makes the fight flow better. So you're right.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. This is where I left off before. Again, it's gonna be one of those, it's kind of gonna be like Wednesday. We're not gonna go too much. I know Kev's still doing the finals. Finals are still on, long nights. But I do want to talk about a few things. And this is what I was talking about. I know Kevin Knight, he came out and basically we all should be mad at Darby, cut a promo on Darby. Darby eventually comes out, attacks, whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm confused with Kevin Knight's direction. Later on in the show, Kevin Knight, MJF needs this, whatever. We're getting into that. Kevin Knight basically says, I want another title shot. Why? I'm so confused. We already had the match with Speedball. They gave us that way too soon. There's nothing really to build up for that going forward in Kevin Knight's TNT title run. Why is he so focused on winning an AEW championship when he's had two fucking opportunities against MJF and Darby? He lost against MJF, had it against Darby, and still lost. Why is he still on this mission to get another title shot? And 3, if he's attacking Darby Allin, why didn't we at Double or Nothing, and he's still calling him out? Why couldn't you let this, Kevin Knight speak, whatever, Don Callis, Darby gone for a week, and then you do a TNT title match or something with Darby? After that, you get going with Speedball. You add Speedball into this somehow. No, this company doesn't like long-term creative booking. I'm not saying what I'm saying is the creative, but my point is, I don't know where Kevin Knight's direction is. Is it Mike Bailey? Is it Darby Allin? Is it MJF? It feels like he's trying to do 3 things at once, and it makes no sense. Every single thing he does, it's different. It's either he's going out there on an open live mic talking about Darby or Speedball, but he's backstage challenging for an AEW title every week. I'm confused, Hoss.
I'm right with you because he's actively burying the belt that he already has by focusing on the AEW World Championship. Second of all, he has active beef with Andrade right now, which we didn't touch on because Andrade told him to get to the back of the line
Oh, we
because
will talk about that. Yes,
he wants the world title, and he seems like Don Callis is not the apple of his eye anymore. So there's that. The speedball thing, that should be a feud that goes on for a month or two. But again, we like to overcook our food for some reason here. And with this whole MJF thing, why? It just like you say, why? Like all this Jet 2 belts thing, focus on the TNT championship. Just focus on it. Because we got Kyle Fletcher in the wings. He's gonna come out and let something be known very soon. He says he was the best TNT champion, but the Jet saying he's the best TNT champion. It seems like cockiness is gonna come to a head very soon. Like you said, he's spread too thin. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm right with you on that.
yeah, dude. Again, it feels like he's one segment he's challenging for another thing. Then he wants Darby, he wants Mike Bailey. They shouldn't have given us Speedball. I would have been fine if he was challenging for just saying, okay, I want MJF, and then for some reason Darby says no, I want the TNT title. Whatever you did, just get Kevin Knight away from the world title for what? When you look at Andrade, how is Andrade not compete for that title yet? Now, I said this right before you joined. I know that he lost his match, his opportunity originally to Hangman at last year's Grand Slam in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
But how has he not? I just know now that's going to be the story, right? Kevin Knight comes in and he's in front of the line. Andrade gets jealous and maybe something happens, but. How the fuck does Roosh get a world title shot before Andrade?
The world may never know, Chris. The world may never know. AEW logic is beyond me. But the fans be like, "Oh, we're having a grand old time with our TV shows every week. We're loving it. Like y'all can shit on all you want to."
How are you? I don't know how these people are having fun watching this show every week.
And one more thing before we move on. Does it seem like Darby Allin likes going against gangs every so often? He had the Death Riders. Now he's going to go against the whole Don Callis family. Again, another.
And then he had the War Dogs, the Gabe Kidd and friends.
Yes. It's always Darby versus the world. So now this beef, which should be Darby and Kevin Knight, is going to be Darby versus the Don Callis family. Again, burying Kevin Knight again in his own feud. It doesn't make any sense.
And look, there's no need for Darby Allin to be doing these type of feuds with these gangs, like you mentioned, right? Because the point of all that was to build him up. He already won the world title. He's not touching that shit. This might be a hot take. He is never touching that belt ever again.
I disagree, but go ahead, Cook. I disagree though.
Wow,
that's not okay. The only reason he's a pillar of the company, Chris. You think Tony Khan gonna have him be a multi-time AEW champion? You've been watching this product longer than me. You know better than this. This is not a Mick Foley Mankind situation.
I wouldn't give him the world title. Okay, let me rephrase that. I wouldn't give him the world title ever again.
This is Tony Khan, brother. It just depends on how he feels.
Because he's already lost his. I don't know how to explain it. They gave him the world title when he was at the coldest point of his career, but they didn't give him the world title when he was at the hottest point of his career. How can you recover from that? How does the Darby Allin character recover? That's why I wouldn't give him the world title. Unless for some reason he goes away again and it's all this redemption story. Now we're talking. But it's like you said, he's just going to get beat up and thrown off balconies.
You got to believe this, man. This is AEW logic. He's going to have a Sting run coming up maybe next year or the year after this. He's going to go back to the tag division for a while. He's going to be with an up and comer. He's going to carry the up and comer. The next thing you know, they're going to be screaming for Darby to go singles title again. He's going to get that belt one more time. He might. Okay, this is my prediction. I got Kyle Fletcher beating Ospreay for the belt next year at All In. I can see Darby Allin taking the belt from Kyle Fletcher. I can see it.
I mean, fuck, if he took the world title from MJF, I'm not going to say I can't see it either. At this point, he took the title from MJF in like, what, 45 seconds? I agree. I am not going to count that out.
And Tony Khan doesn't really know how to build stars. He just lucks up into one. That's what it seems like. Darby Allin's already said he's a made man in this company. You go back to the well when you run dry. That's what you do.
Till he brings in the next guy, that the next free agent. Because listen, I was listening. Me and Kev, we talked about this earlier. Where it was like all these people, Steve Macklin, for example, AEW. I'm sick. I agree with Kev. These people do have to stop saying that everybody needs to go to AEW when they're released from a company. However, Mr. Karrion Kross threw out some very, very spicy hints when being asked if he's ever talked to Tony Khan. His answer, Hoss, was, out of respect for Tony, I'm not going to answer that question. We know what that means.
Yes, we know what that means.
Karrion Kross, when he's done with his MLW commitment, will be in AEW. And if done right, which, come on, let's be honest, I got no fucking confidence. Him versus MJF would be fucking money. Him versus Will Ospreay would be fucking money.
It would.
Him versus Darby, maybe. Not money, but it will be a fun match to watch. But him and MJF is money.
Correct. Chris, you're forgetting AEW logic. You know what you have to do. You have to pay your dues when you come to AEW. You know what that means. You have to job out for 69 months.
No.
You have to do it.
Karrion fucking Kross come in there and job to Roosh. I swear to God, if I see no, you do not have Karrion Kross to come in there and lose to Mark Briscoe.
Yes,
which
sir.
we are talking about in the next segment.
It must happen. It's gonna happen, sir.
I will lose my shit if Karrion Kross does come to AEW and he loses to a clown like Blake Christian. I'm gonna lose my shit.
It may not be Vanilla Baby. We may not go that far.
I brought his ass up because we did see him later on.
I'm gonna tell you who we saw on Collision this past week too. I gotta bring it up later. I gotta let you know though.
Speaking of Hoss, I have my Collision tickets for August 22nd.
I saw you talking it up. I can't wait.
To
see you on TV.
I will tell you why I got them off air because it's a personal thing. So why I got them, but I will be there. I was gifted. It was a gift. So well, not a gift, but yeah. Anyway, I'll explain it to you. But I will be there. It's only 25 minutes away from Hershey, from where I live. So it's actually the city I was legitimately born in. And so, before I moved to Hershey. So I'm excited. Actually, live wrestling you can't beat. I'll be honest.
You're right.
Especially like any major company, MLW, any of the major companies live wrestling, you don't beat. So anyway, that was that. We'll anything else going to Darby, Kevin Knight that you want to get into before we talk about Briscoe, MJF, and the world title scene and what was announced for Forbidden Door?
I think Darby's going to take that belt off Kevin Knight, and we're going to be okay. Kevin Knight's being buried in about 4 or 5 weeks. We're going to be there. We're going to be there talking about that.
I agree, and they're going to blame it on the Don Callis or something, which could be true. He shouldn't be in the Don Callis family anyway. But wow, the Spurs are about to blow a lead. Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's talk about Mark Briscoe and MJF because first off, Mark Briscoe had a match with Pac. It was a fine match. It was a fine match. These matches, again, Hoss, I'm just gonna sound like a broken record. That's why when it goes to these matches, they're good wrestling matches. A little too long, nothing really there. I see this
Every
shit
time.
every week.
Every time. Every time.
However, MJF, they pulled the WWE moment. Mark Briscoe wins. He gets the microphone, calls MJF out. You hear his music, and then go to commercial break. And then I was like, whoa. Well, you're gonna go to commercial break, right? Okay, whatever. It was fine. They come back. MJF's in the crowd. He says, "There's no one more important in AEW than MJF."
Mm-hmm.
He's not wrong. I think that's a fact.
Yeah.
He says that. He says no to Mark. Challenge him for the AEW World Title. He says money talks. He pays some people to jump Mark Briscoe from behind. Out comes Jay Lethal, Blake Christian, I think Lee Johnson.
The Lethal Swerve.
The Lethal, yes. They come out, they attack Briscoe. You know who comes to save Mark Briscoe? Tomohiro Ishii comes
Big
to
Tom.
the big guy. The
It's
big guy
Tom.
alongside Pockets comes to save Mark Briscoe. I'm going to rip him. I'm not even going to talk about him right now because he had a match, Hoss, and I'm going to rip him to flames. But basically, this is the stipulation, Hoss. Let's just talk about the stipulation.
Go for it.
He calls Tony Khan a sicko and says he told him that at Forbidden Door, in a steel cage match, it will be Mark Briscoe and 5 other people versus MJF, 5 other people of their choosing.
Oh, my.
If Mark Briscoe wins, he gets a world title shot. If his team wins, he gets a world title shot. This is stupid in multiple ways. This is, to me, like MJF, okay, he bribed the Don Callis family with money. They're getting money in return. If I'm Cassidy or any of these fucking clowns, why do I want to help you? What am I going to get out of this? Second, I don't want to see Tomohiro Ishii in a steel cage. I won't cover the match. I will. Actually, I will. I will rip it. But no, I mean, Hoss, is this better than having Mark Briscoe? I'm gonna be honest. Mark Briscoe ain't main eventing no fucking pay-per-view. I'm gonna be honest. He ain't main eventing with because they said Mark Briscoe said I asked Tony Khan to go main event. I want you in the main event at Forbidden Door. I was like, oh no. Is this better than having MJF and Briscoe one-on-one? Or is this like kind of weird? Because I think it's weird, but if this is a way for Mark Briscoe to not challenge for that title, I guess. But my thing is this, Hoss. How come Mark Briscoe has to go through all this shit? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He should not have to go through all this shit to get a big world title shot when he has pinned MJF at All Out in 2025 in Toronto. I will give him that.
You're correct. No, I would rather see Briscoe MJF do a singles match. I have no interest in watching a lights out 10-man match. Didn't we see that last year with Ospreay? And then when Ospreay got hurt when they wrote him off television?
Yeah.
In a lights out match. We've seen this. A lot of people they're gonna love it, but if you want to see a plunder match, just give me Briscoe MJF in a ladder match. I like the last ladder match that Briscoe was in with Cal Fletcher. Just give me that. Give me the ladder match. I mean, you don't have to go all out with the steel cage. I mean, they just do it for aesthetics. So I don't know why. Wow, the Spurs are blowing this lead for real. I was distracted for a second.
Yeah. No, you're not. Dude, that's nuts.
But yeah, back what I was saying, yes, I would rather see the singles match. And again, we know Briscoe's not going to win, but Briscoe is good enough to deliver a main event match at Forbidden Door. I believe in his ability to do it with MJF. It'll work. So I would rather see that. I have no interest in watching the conglomeration versus the Don Callis family. I have no interest in it.
I have no I agree. I agree, brother. Because
do you want to see Roppongi Vice in Forbidden Door? Do you really want to see that?
No, man. I don't. I don't even know why MJF needs to be even doing something like this. I mean, I guess you got to keep him preoccupied before Wembley, but it. Oh my God, what, dude? I don't even know why they need to do all this just to get Briscoe. Just have the fucking match. I agree. I agree. I agree with what you're saying. They should have just had the match one-on-one. Open the show with that.
Oh man, Knicks took the lead. No, they didn't. Okay, I thought they did.
Dude, they're selling so hard. See, chat, this is how you know AEW is fucking boring. This is how you know AEW is boring. But just a couple more things here, and then we will say goodnight because I know we might want to see what happens, whatever. Pockets versus Andrade. Fuck you, Orange Cassidy. I'm sick of watching you put your hands in your pockets and doing Hurricane Ranas. Once I saw that, Hoss, I turned the Knicks game on full screen and didn't turn Dynamite on until the women's Owen match. Any thoughts on Pockets versus Andrade? I do not give a fuck about some idiot with his hands in his pockets doing Hurricane Ranas.
You missed the paparazzi Leo Rush.
I'm sick of the fucking paparazzi. All they did was pose it before the match. No.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I know I have nothing for this match. I'm just gonna say that Pockets is a future AEW World Champion. So just warm yourself up to that. We got to stomach a lot of stuff in the future. He's gonna win the belt. Speedball Bailey's gonna win that belt. It's gonna just get ready for all of it. We're gonna have some weirdos with championships, big championship gold. So just prepare yourself for it. It may not be this year, but yeah, by the end of next year, Speedball and Orange Cassidy will be AEW World Champions, and we're gonna have a great laugh about it.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have you guys will have a great laugh when I'm here in my denim jacket wearing fucking sunglasses.
Oh, I can't wait! I can't wait! I can't. You with your hand in your pockets. I can't wait.
Wemby's a fucking sellout. Holy shit!
How'd you give up a 29-point lead,
dude? Oh my God. Dude, I was watching Kev's before we talk about, by the way, Sky Blue versus Maya World. Maya World recently had a family tragedy last week. Great for her, man. I told you guys, I hope she has a good match. She looked good. She got a good win. Good for her. Definitely an upset. I think she'll fight Athena. So that should be fun.
They actually have a good rivalry going in ROH. I have not watched a lot of ROH, but I have seen them go against each other. They're a good matchup, so that'll be good to see.
Shout out to Maya World. Really, I know she's dealing with a lot of real life.
Prayers up to her and her family.
So yeah, prayers to her and her family, and I hope this could at least give her some joy. I know that's not gonna happen, but at least for this one night, I hope she could enjoy herself and have this win be for her family members. So shout out to Maya World, excuse me. You're not the WNBA player. Maya World. Looking forward to her match with Athena. I really am, because when I look at her, I think of a young up and coming Athena, or her and Queen Amidala. I could see her like the future for them and then Ring of Honor type of women's division. So shout out to Maya World. I'm excited to talk about her and Athena.
Chris, we didn't touch on it. How did you feel about the Mercedes Moné vignette?
I didn't touch on it for a reason. I thought it was fucking boring. I forget what match it was after, but I literally went downstairs to refill my cup with iced tea. Mercedes
I think it was after the Moxley FTP match.
Okay, that's exactly why. That is exactly why. So no, I thought that shit was boring. I saw like the last bit of it.
I know we're gonna touch on it on Saturday, but I really got to bring it home where AEW missed the mark of not making her to be a face. They really missed the mark there.
Who?
Of Mercedes being a face. She should be baby face.
Oh yeah, no, we'll definitely talk about that on Saturday. Me and Kev said something like that similar earlier. So Yeah, I agree. We're gonna, that's probably the only what else are to talk about with this company, man, going into Forbidden Door. I think this is gonna be the last one anyway. So hopefully Redemption fills the Forbidden Door.
Oh
We
yeah,
don't
yeah. It should be the last one. You got Tekla spitting on Stardom. New Japan only has like one or two wrestlers that people actually know these days.
right.
Um, yeah, this should be the last one. I mean, it is the least selling pay per view for AEW. So yeah, it should be the
Yep.
last.
I agree, brother. I agree. We go to our main event. Hoss, Swerve versus Brody King. Rematch from Revolution. Wasn't better than that match, but it was a good match. I hate that I don't have anything to say, but are we really surprised? We knew this was going to be Swerve and Ospreay from the minute that this fucking tournament bracket was announced. So it will be Swerve versus Ospreay in what likely is going to be the main event. Forbidden Door for the Owen, and even we know who's going to win.
Yes.
Hoss, it was again good match, just like their match at Revolution, but unfortunately we knew, and you did not need to have a 13-minute overrun for this match. And
They
again,
again.
besides
Oh,
the
go ahead.
Owen, and if it wasn't for that, we would get no women on the card.
You're right. You're right. AEW missed the mark again. Brody King should have went over. Yeah, we should have had a Brody King Swerve. They should have a climax to their feud with a three match trilogy. But no, we're gonna have Swerve go after Ospreay. He's gonna lose. He's gonna keep saying he wants all the power. He's the most dangerous man in AEW, but you don't get it done. Our former world champion is never going to get done in 2026. It doesn't make any sense. It's bad booking. I'm tired of it. We have to come after the bad booking every time because Swerve Strickland, he deserves better. I know he gets paid a lot. I understand that, but if you're gonna book a guy to say he wants all the power and he never wins, it doesn't make sense. Now, if you what's the harm in Brody King losing to Will Ospreay in the finals? We've had this mini Brody King push for all of 2026. Since the F Ice chance, we've had Brody King push go on. So he can continue being a bridesmaid. He can lose in the finals. That's a good look for him. Swerve Strickland losing to Will Ospreay in the finals is not a good look for him. So I have to bury this bad booking. AEW is missing the mark again.
I agree 100% because again, this is going to be the second time that Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland have fought at the Forbidden Door. They fought at Forbidden Door 2024 at the UBS Arena. And if I remember correctly, Will Ospreay won that match.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be accurate when I say that because that's going to determine. I mean, it's still dumb. Like I agree with what you're saying, but anyway, I wish I remember who won that other match. But anyway, my point is, Will Ospreay is determined, and we know he's gonna be the guy to eventually win the title at All In. It's just it doesn't make for good TV. Doesn't make for a good in me being invested in this Owen. This Owen was very predictable. Very predictable. And I hate that I don't even know what to say on this because again, we're gonna get this again for the second time since 2024. Swerve's gonna lose. What are we gonna do with Swerve, Hoss? He's not gonna be the AEW World Champion this year. I don't see him. He's not gonna challenge or be the TNT or any of that. Is he just gonna have mid-card tier feuds all the time? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, you should have had Swerve and Ospreay, which they probably still will, but you should have had Swerve and Ospreay when Swerve or Ospreay was the champion.
And just wait for this. Wait to this part. Will Ospreay is going to make Swerve tap with an armbar. Yeah, just wait. Just wait. It's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to happen. I know you got the shock face from over there looking at what's going on.
Literally, De'Aaron Fox, all he had to do was make a layup, and they seal it. I mean, holy shit. But
But yeah, like I was saying, Will Ospreay is gonna make Swerve tap, and you're gonna. There's no way you're gonna be able to sell me that you want to be the most powerful man in the company. You're tapping out. You say you're dangerous, and you're gonna tap out to an armbar like you're Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. I can't. I can't believe it. I just can't. So this is just. I hate using the term burial so often, but you're burying the powerful character that Swerve Strickland's trying to get over by having him lose in the Owen to Will Ospreay. But I will say this: if they turn Will Ospreay heel and go all the way Death Rider Will Ospreay, I buy it. I buy in. I'd go
I'll
for
buy
it.
it. I'll buy it. I like Will Ospreay as a heel. I liked him when he came into AEW from New Japan and he was the heel with Kenny into that United Empire tag team match with the Elite. I
I'm
liked it.
glad. I'm
I liked
glad you brought that up because once he goes heel, he's gonna beat Mox for supremacy as a Death Rider. He'll probably beat Jericho, but he has to beat Kenny Omega as a heel. None of
Yeah,
this face to face
I
stuff.
agree.
Give me heel face. It'll be great television.
That is another reason why we need to wait for this Kenny and Will Ospreay match. We cannot have it at this year's Wembley.
Yes, we must have heel Osprey to make this work.
Yes. I agree. I agree 100%. Chat. This has been your AEW Dynamite review. It's unfortunate in all seriousness. It really is unfortunate that it feels like every week it's good wrestling, but what's happening next? It doesn't make for a good review. It just they got to give me something here. This company has to give me something to work with, something to talk about. They do that once in a while. Like, okay, they did that with Mercedes coming back last week, but we know what her direction is. We knew this was going to happen. Final thoughts on Dynamite, Hoss. It was a fine show. A lot of these storylines, especially with Kevin Knight, still don't make sense. Oh my God.
Yes, that's why I looked over there. I'm like, wow.
Oh, wow. Kevin's going nuts.
Sickos, we're sorry. We got big finals action going on in the background. We apologize. But yeah, last thing going in here, do not settle for bad television, sickos. I understand that you love the graps and you love good wrestling. Good wrestling is fine. We must ask for better television. That's all I get on these reviews and ask for every fucking week. I just want good television. Not just good wrestling. Give me good television. But I'll leave it at that.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a night. What a night for us, AEW. Hopefully next week's better, Hoss. We won't have NBA finals to deal with. I doubt it. No, we won't anyway, even if it does go to game 7. So they got to give us something. There's no excuse now. You're on the road. After Forbidden Door, Hoss, these shows can't be bad anymore. Otherwise, they're in trouble. They're in trouble going into Wembley. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you guys this outro for tonight because, unfortunately, this is the way how we feel about this show. Thank you guys again for joining me and Hoss Knucklebrew here on a Wednesday night immediately following AEW Dynamite. We will check you guys out next week. Make sure you guys go check us out Saturday for weekly wrestling. And may the force be with you.